Okay. Well, what's your name and what's your situation out here?
Right now it's just out in the open. Yeah, I rented a couple of places and they can't get in them, so they didn't have the key and there's no locksmiths and we can't get inside.
How long have you been out here?
On this part right here, I think about maybe close to 5 months, somewhere in 3 to 5 months. Yeah.
Are you from Texas?
Yeah.
That's Lana. I met her while I was wandering around downtown Austin the second day I got to Texas on a big road trip. We were in Austin for 3 days. I kept seeing her because she was laying in the grass a block away from my downtown hotel the whole time. So I finally stopped to talk to her for a bit. She told me she'd been out here on the streets of Austin for 4 to 5 months at that point. She seemed pretty confused about what was going on around her. She just laid there in a grassy median with a bunch of trash and whatever belongings she thought were important. Lana's one of a bunch of people living on the streets in Austin now. They think there's 3,000 people on the streets in the Texas capital these days. It's pretty sad and bleak. It's dangerous here now and just all around crummy. This should be the safest place in the whole state, and it is not that. Austin's always been weird and funky and different, but this doesn't even feel like Texas. Welcome to East California, everyone. It's time for your weekly dose of homeless. Where we are right now is across the street from an H-E-B just outside of downtown Austin. This was actually the first place I saw when I left the airport. We wanted to get some groceries, so we stopped about 10 minutes after picking up the rental car. I was like, I just got here, and it looks like shit. Now, it had been a while since I'd seen so many people on the streets. Denver was the only really bad place I'd seen in a year where folks were living like this. Begging, openly using drugs, and sleeping on the streets in downtown. Now, all this began on the West Coast with legalization and handouts. And it spread out from there. It reached Vegas and New Mexico and Colorado. And now it's here. Yep, the big bum wave has taken over weird Austin. I wish I had a different tale to tell about how this all got started and what the current state of affairs is here in Texas. But I don't. Drugs are easy to come by since our southern border's wide open. There's very little mental health help. And the place has become super expensive. I mean, even people with good jobs can't afford to live here easily. This was on the local Austin news when I was in town. It takes a pretty good job just to be able to afford a rent here. Defunding the police hasn't helped things. Nope. I talked about that in another video, but basically, Austin cut its police budget by a third 4 years ago. And then, guess what? Crime and BS has grown in the last 4 years. Who'd have thunk? Things are so bad in downtown Austin now that the governor finally sent in the State Department of Public Safety to patrol downtown. So you walk around downtown Austin, and there's these large number of state officers just standing around, which makes it feel even more crazy here. I mean, when's the last time you saw a bunch of state troopers in your downtown? And then check this out. I was just driving around downtown, and I saw one with a machine gun in the United States. First time I've ever seen that before in America. That's some third world shit right there. Austin's biggest headache started when they began nurturing their homeless population. You know, letting them do whatever they want and supporting them and being their ally. Like, this is okay that you're living like this. We got your back. Well, that didn't go very well. At one point, the city let these people stay in free hotel rooms, which only gives them a place to consume and sell drugs comfortably. I wish I had a free hotel room and free health care and free money. There was a lot of buzz in town around a race for mayor a few years ago when this cross-dressing homeless guy got a bunch of votes. Too much, Austin. And then at one point, Austin voters said, you know what? Let's make public camping legal. Well, that didn't go over very well. I mean, look at the place. So then they decided, you know what? That was a bad idea. And then the voters voted to make camping illegal again. My God. They don't really enforce it, though. But at least they came to their senses, right? Crime is super bad here because of all this. There's a lot of shoplifting, and small businesses don't want to stay open after dark. College kids are accosted walking down here from the University of Texas. You might get it too. You could just be minding your own business downtown in the middle of the day, and some crazy homeless guy might decide to F with you. Happens all the time here now. So one member of the Austin Police Department hung out with me one day when I was here. His name's Jeff Hutchison. Super cool guy. Showed me around town and everything. He's been in the Austin Police for 10 years now. He said there's a cop shortage, an EMS shortage, and a 911 dispatcher shortage. Basically a shortage of everything. Why? 'Cause Austin voted for it.
Oh, I mean, this is one of the homeless utopias. I mean, honestly, this is, for the longest time, and it still is that I think the people that live in this city see them as part of what made Austin unique, that they see it as the homeless keep Austin weird, yet we don't want them anywhere we go. You know, it's that whole thing where, like, you know, yeah, we want them here because, like, you know, they're victims, which they're not. But it's the whole NIMBY, they're not in my backyard, but don't go where we go because we don't want to deal with you. And the issue is that this city has tried to do, the whole thing is they need affordable housing, and they've done 2 hotels that the city purchased and put them in, and they are bastions of drugs, crime, prostitution, and violence. And until you treat the addictions and force them to get clean from the addictions, you're spinning your wheels. And I think they come here for a bunch of reasons, because they come here because the weather's good, and they come here because people give them money. You know, they make money here. People see them as victims, and here's the money. So why would they leave?
They feel entitled, don't they?
I don't know that it's so much entitlement, that there aren't any repercussions for what they do. You know, it's just crime in this city, and sadly in most major cities, has just become a revolving door. You know, we can arrest and we can arrest and we can arrest as much as we want, and when the judges and the district attorneys and all the people in the justice system are letting these people out before we finish the probable cause affidavit, they're back on the streets, then what are we really doing? It's in almost every major city in the country. It's all the same thing. They're all, most cities in this country are left-leaning. They have left-leaning judges, left-leaning DAs, and it's just this soft-on-crime approach. And we've seen that, it's turned cities into shitholes.
Underwear. When I was here, it was a full-blown crisis. People are standing around, drinking in the parking lots, sleeping on the sidewalks, harassing you at the intersections. They think 2 out of 3 of these people aren't even from Texas. I've seen worse before. It's not as homeless campy here as it is in Austin's West Coast cousins. I didn't see any large tent encampments. There isn't nearly as much poop and pee downtown. But at least on every block, you see people wandering around, sleeping, acting up, creating drama, and just making being here plain miserable for everyone. They were all over. Couldn't even really get all of them, just driving around. Just glimpses of people laying on the ground all over the place. And then when you do slow down, it's pretty gnarly. This guy didn't like me recording on the block he was on.
Hey, take this picture of this motherfucker, my dick in your ass, bitch. You like that shit? You want to take a picture?
And then the woman in the middle of the road didn't even notice.
Died one. Died one.
The guy laying outside the damn Whataburger didn't notice. This guy didn't like being recorded. I don't blame him. I wouldn't either. This was unique. An entire house made out of cardboard. I've never seen that before. Usually it's shopping carts and tarps and tents. That won't be there very long, will it? Down by the river by Metz Park. I was told there were bums down here, but I don't see any. That's good. Not yet, anyways. This is one of the bigger parks in Austin that a few people told me has a homeless problem. So I walked around for a little bit. I had a hard time finding them, but honestly, I didn't really look that hard. There were plenty of other people to talk to. But I can say, if this park was in California, it would be bad. And there's the Arch. It's a homeless resource center in downtown. You can't miss the place if you're in town. You can hear the noise from a block away. Everyone's just standing around, laying around. It's a pretty sad intersection. And you do not want to walk past the Arch, like ever. I felt a lot of anger and emotion every time I went past this building downtown. And by the way, Austin's homeless strategy officer, she just resigned. Wonder if she just gave up because she didn't have it in her anymore. They say Austin used to smell like pot, and now it smells like poop. Well, I can say that's true. I smelled a lot of both when I was walking around Austin. You kind of wonder, okay, so it's really expensive to live here, but what are you paying for when you can't even go to parts of the city? You have to worry about all this crap. And what's kind of funny about it is, a lot of what's happening here is the same thing that's going on in California and San Diego and the West Coast. A lot of people are moving to Austin from California, and they're like, what the heck? We tried to leave all of this. I kind of feel bad for them. Of course, there's nobody to blame but themselves. Almost all of this is drugs and a lifestyle that they've decided on. And a lot of the mental illness began with drug use. I don't think any of these people's out here because of rent increases. Sometimes you hear there aren't enough shelter beds. And then you hear, oh, there's enough beds, but nobody wants to sleep in them because they drug test. Anyways, there's been a lot of money thrown at this, but it's clearly not working. There's people dying out on Austin streets all the time, just blocks from the state capitol. Elected leaders and nonprofits have really done nothing to solve this. But somebody's actually trying. There's a grassroots, nonpartisan group called Save Austin Now that's trying to fix Austin's quality of life. They've even filed lawsuits to try to get the city of Austin to figure all this out. The whole reason Save Austin Now got started was because of the homeless explosion. This is Cleo. She's one of the founders of Save Austin Now. She'll tell you, look, I'm a Democrat and I voted for the people in office, but the people running the place have screwed it up big time.
I'm a Democrat, right? So I'm a mom. I live here in Dallas, born and raised in Texas. And what we have here in Austin and what we see in major cities all across America is far left progressives that have basically undermined local politics, and we've seen them hurt the very communities that they say they care for. My parents are Mexican immigrants. I grew up in an underserved community. My best friend was shot in the back when I was a teenager. Her mom was a prostitute. Like, I grew up in the hood. And one thing that I do not appreciate from these far left activists is pretending like what they're doing is actually helping these communities, which we know these communities have been the breeding ground for violent crime, open air drug use, open camping. They've taken over their parks with illicit behavior, drug activity. I can go on, and what we have are DSA, Democrat Socialists of America, radicals, far left progressives that have infiltrated our local politics, because regular Austinites aren't really that political, right? Yeah, I have some ways that I feel like I'm more left than most people, but overall, I'm not thinking about politics every day. I'm thinking about raising my family, sending my son to school safely, holding out a job, everything that most Austinites are busy doing, right? We don't have time to go to city council meetings and, virtue signal that, we want rights for the homeless community because of, whatever they feel like they haven't been served. Like, absolutely, there should be a plan for the homeless, and we need homeless community to have services, mental health, drug intervention. But letting that supersede the community and saying that they can do whatever they want, that is not going to get accountability to the homeless community.
I bet there's a lot of people in Austin who think like Cleo. They just can't say anything.
I think you're right, Mappy. You gotta keep your head down if you vote blue here. You can't admit you screwed the place up. You can't admit to all your friends, hey look, I moved to this cool place in Texas, and look what it's become.
The whole country is gonna be bums one day if Biden has his way.
Mappy, you sound just like my mom on Facebook. She's still out there. So back to Lana. She told me she's been trying to get a bus ticket to Lockhart, which is about 30 minutes away. Well, I know that isn't true because, if you want a bus ticket out of Austin, they'll give you one. I'm pretty sure they'd love to see her disappear and get off their downtown streets. So you're just stuck here?
Yeah.
How much money do you need to get to where you're going?
I think the bus ticket goes anywhere from $30 to $50.
Why don't you just go in the shelter inside?
In here, they won't let it.
They won't let you in the shelter?
I sat here for all this time. You know, I think I've been here 1 month and some, trying to get inside this place. They kept telling me they were going to open it, and they're going to open it, and they're not going to open it.
So you're waiting to get in here?
Yeah. I seen them, they got the lock off the door and everything the other day, and he said, this place isn't for, we're not letting anybody in. But he said it's something about the end of December.
Lana's just one casualty to all the bad decisions that are being made all around us. And it's both political parties. It's companies paying crummy wages, it's a housing crisis, a drug epidemic, and none of these people wants to try to get back into the real world again. I can't even imagine what the U.S. looked like during the Great Depression when we had shanty towns all over and 1 in 3 people were out of work. We recovered from that, but somehow this generation seems to have less grit than that generation did. I don't think these people have it in them to pull themselves up and out of this. And I don't think they even want to.
When I think about how we got here, I think about, obviously it started, I think it got national attention with the George Floyd summer protests, right? The murder of George Floyd. Right before that, and here in Austin and many other cities, they had already been experiencing that, but they lifted the camping ban in 2019. And they did this without any type of infrastructure, just saying, okay, from this point on, we're not going to, which we had majority compliance of the law prior to them lifting it. Most homeless that we did have were compliance with it. But they lifted it anyways without a plan in the middle of summer in 110-degree heat. And they went to, the city council went on vacation, right? That means that we had homeless people under bridges in sweltering heat without access to water, without access to toilets. We saw, barbecue pits, open air drug use, prostitution, next to elementary schools in underserved areas. And that's why I got involved, is because I was noticing that the poorest communities, underserved areas, were the ones that were being overwhelmed because they do not have the political connections or wherewithal to call their council members, say, hey, what's going on here? This is not safe for my neighborhood. My kids aren't able to access their park or walk to school. What's happening? So I became their basic spokesperson because I grew up in communities like that. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me whether you're left, right, or anything in the middle. What matters to me is that we improve the quality of life for all people here in Austin, because that we have seen. When I talk to, for example, when I talk to elected officials, Democrats, friends of mine, that I either volunteered for campaigns locally or nationally, they'll say, Cleo, I agree with you, but I can't do anything about it. We have to, go with whatever locally is happening. We will continue to see these, loud activists infiltrate our local government. When you think about, again, the dystopian trifecta, defunding the police in 2020, electing prosecutors through the help of George Soros in 2020. These far left prosecutors we've seen them drop cases, release habitual offenders, people who have aggravated sexual assault, release them with several, a long offense history to further perpetrate and victimize more community members. And unfortunately, a lot of these community members live in vulnerable communities, like the one I grew up in. Then you have the open camping and the open air drug use that has been rampant across the country. I was thinking earlier that the two things that kind of save us from looking like Seattle, San Francisco, Portland, is that we did not vote for the $200 you don't prosecute. So we don't have these massive ring of thefts that you see going on that are shutting down businesses across the country and other liberal cities. And we also do not have harm reduction able to use drugs, right? Thankfully, we have, and I say this as a Democrat, that we have a Republican governor and a Republican majority that has reined that in. And every step, unfortunately, or fortunately for me, where we've defunded the police, the state came back and passed a law that would penalize cities that defunded their police from this point on, and because of that, we were able to return some of the money back, right? And the open camping, we passed a state law, and Matt and I, with Save Austin Now, we passed a citywide camping ban that was voted overwhelmingly by Democrats here in Austin. So as you can tell by these, you see that the majority of Austinites do not support these far left extreme ideas.
Are you looking to move and need advice? I do consulting. That's right. I'll sit down and talk about where the next perfect place for you and your family should be. I do it all the time. Together, let's find you a new home that's safe and checks all your boxes. And I can also help you find your new house, too. Email me and I'll work with you. I'm not just helping you figure out where to move, but I can help you find your perfect home, too. That's right. I know awesome, reliable agents all over the country, and I'd love to connect you to somebody who can help you search for that perfect home. Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great. You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.